for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. Y'all like that? I kept the music going. Yes, sincerely, I did. Dead porta-potty body. What happened? I can tell you all about a story that happened over the past weekend. It's actually Sunday, the other day, about a dead body that was found in a porta-potty at an NFL stadium near you. Former NFL running back Clinton Portis and 9 others were named in a health benefits scam. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, it might be some serious fallout behind that. And we also have the NBA's Kings and Bucks are involved in a joint effort called Play for Justice. We'll discuss that as well. I've got an article I want to read from in regards to that. I think you all will find that interesting. I kind of found it not only interesting, but kind of like, you know, what's the emoji folks use? Like, wow, couldn't believe I was reading that. And, of course, we got our NFL Week 15 notable team performances. But up first, in our No Sports Intended segment, we're going to discuss Georgia, the state, that is, Georgia's mass voter purge. Joining me on the program today to discuss this and our other topics are none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park. Brother Rich, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm always honored and humbled to be on with my brother and my friend, and certainly the rest of our listeners and our great audience out here. And, of course, I can't forget my brother, Double J up in Michigan, and, you know, all the great Cleveland Browns. And how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, all that stuff you said before you said Cowboys. Now, when you said Cowboys, I know it don't mean nothing. Anyway, my cat on the other side of the ledger from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
Some people want it to happen. Some wish it would happen. Others, like Brother Rich and I, make it happen.
Oh, man, you've been working on that. You've been working on that all week. You and Brother Rich and that dead mule that y'all been kicking around and need to be beat up in New York City with the Yankees. Anyhow, if you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the number to call today is area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Now, this Georgia voter purge. Yesterday, Georgia went on ahead and moved forward with their voter purge. Now, here's what I find interesting. I took, as I've mentioned a time or two before, I took political science when I was in college. But, Brother Rich, you will be more esteemed, you know, being that you're the community activist and more connected in these circles in politics and so on and so forth, then I want to read to you just pieces and portions of an article I found in regards to this, and maybe you can help us break down, shed some more light, and give us more detail on this whole thing and what it all means. You know, because there's some folk I talked to about this, and they said, oh, my gosh, this might be the beginnings of martial law. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, that's Raffensperger, Raffensperger, in October, released a list of over 313,000 voters whose registrations were at risk of being canceled. That's about 4% of the state's total registered voters. I guess these voters were mailed notices in November, and they give them, 30 days to respond in order to keep the registration intact or whatnot. Well, because there was no response, Walter Jones, a spokesman for the Secretary of State's office, said the purge would take place overnight Monday into today. He said the exact number and names of voters removed wouldn't be known until then, and that more information would be made available after. Now, we all know this was a hot button issue during last year's race. So, Brother Rich, if you would, fill us in. I mean, what is this voter purge? I mean, this don't seem like it's a good thing to me in the long run.
Well, it certainly is not a good thing in and of itself. That is the fundamental right and a privilege, if you will, for every American citizen to have the right to vote. And so anything that threatens or challenges that right, we have to look at it very carefully. Coupled with the fact that this voter purge, and that's exactly what it is aimed at disenfranchising the already disenfranchised. So this is why these things are particularly nefarious at the face of them. So when we look deeper at it, we know that matters like this are ultimately going to end up in superior courts. They're going to end up in the higher courts, and they're won out in the end. But the problem becomes what happens while you're waiting to go through that. So this is a very concerning thing. I followed up on it in preparation for today's program, and I was told that there was a halt put on this because, again, this raises the eyebrows of many who are concerned about the fundamental right that we as Americans have, and that is voting.
Double J, you want to add to that or detract from or take away from?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to take a little bit of a contrasting view on this, and the reason why is, since the better part of the late 90s, we've made a very big emphasis on encouraging everyone to vote. And I think that came to really a head as to, the significant impact it can have when you look at the 2008 election. And the unfortunate part of that is whenever we decide as a person, as an individual, that we're going to go and vote, whenever those November elections come, or even, again, local, state, it doesn't matter what level. Again, we have the power of choice. Hey, are we going to exercise our right? Different than Brother Rich pointed out, that this is a fundamental right of the democracy that we live in. But as long as you vote here, this is what it comes down to. As long as you vote, you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And so really, I hope this puts a fire under everyone, to the casual voter, to be more involved, to say, wait a second, it's a sales tactic that oftentimes is, hey, I'm going to give this to you, and then I'm going to take it away, and that's when you say, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it has the same ideal response from everyone to say, well, wait a second, you're not going to take this away from me. The same way people exercise that same fundamental right with other passions or interests that they may have. But this has some serious consequences. Again, it was taken all the way to the Supreme Court, and unfortunately, it left a very big, Ohio actually already had that purge system in place. So this isn't really news here. It was news in Georgia, but it's right in your backyard there, our esteemed host. This has already been happening.
Yeah, I know.
And so if people aren't aware of it yet, they need to get hit to it. And simply put, get out there, vote. I'm going to be running for a local position in 2020, just because, there's nothing wrong with the community that I live in, but I would like to see a little bit of a shift in demographic. And so I want to at least throw my name in the hat. And again, that's to at least challenge the status quo. And right now, the status quo says that the majority of that population, at 4%, chooses not to vote. So this is an open challenge to them. Okay. Go and prove them wrong.
We got a couple callers actually that came through as Double J was doing his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I appreciate that, Double J. We got my man D Gully from the CO Lum Bus on the line. Gully, what's the deal, son?
Guys, how you doing? Great to be with you guys once again. Glad to call in. Just wanted to hop right in, man, and just let you know I'm here and looking forward to engaging with you guys today.
Yeah, boy, y'all so long-winded, and I'm so glad I got my boots on because this is getting thick. And also, we got a caller from the 313 that sounds like the Michigan area code. Yes, tell us what your name is and where you're calling from, actually, because I was just taking a guess.
Hey, what's going on? It's Kalen from Flint. Long time.
What's up, C.A. Lynn from the FLINT? What's up, man?
Not a whole lot, man. They just trying to impede on our rights how they usually do,
Yeah, as always. You know what, and while I got you on the line, man, let me ask you, man, what's going on with the water situation up there, man?
It's a work in progress. There's still people who are in need of water. Anything that you can do out there to help the situation, please do what you can. There are people who are doing their due diligence to work on people's individual situations with their houses. As people may or may not know, they are using Detroit water again. But the issue still is the pipes. The pipes were corroded. And so that's something that's going to take a little bit more manpower, a little bit more money. But they're working on it. They're doing what they can. They're real resilient out there.
Oh, man, good stuff, man.
You know, if I want to throw this in.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, I wonder if these folks understood that the animals, you know, the dogs specifically, were also drinking that same water. If maybe that might get you know,
get the ball rolling. Yeah.
Maybe care a little bit. Maybe the same way that they have so much, you know, that they're passionate about the animal.
Yeah, and in particular the case of Michael Vick, but we're not going to talk about that right now. That's another story for another day. But I got where you was going with that. I like that. Nice way to throw that in there. Yeah, but Kaylin, we were discussing here right quick. I know it's, you know, not our neck of the woods, so to speak, seeing how we're closer to all the 5 Great Lakes and all. But this whole idea, you know, of Georgia's mass voter purge, you know, and I was just asking my panel here, Gully, I'll let you weigh in too for here, you know, in a second here, but we want to get Kaylin, seeing how he's kind of like the newcomer to the P-roll. Graham, just get your thoughts on it, man. You know, actually, and I want to read another piece here from the article. The list of inactive voters is composed of people who did not respond to notices, of course, that was sent to them. Because they had either, this article is from Yahoo News, actually. They had either filed a change of address form, of course, with the U.S. Postal Service, had official election mail returned undeliverable, or who have not had contact with the election system for 3 years. And this is, of course, coming from the Secretary of State's office. He says, although these people failed to respond to that initial notice, they still remained able to vote normally for 2 additional election cycles equal to 4 years, but their registration will be canceled if they fail to respond to the notice mailed to them or had their contacts such as voting, signing a petition, or changing the address on their driver's license. So, Kaylin, you know, let me ask you, and I just asked Brother Rich and Double J and Gully, I want you to, you know, of course, get in on this as well. But Double J mentioned that, you know, he, as a result of this, you know, he would wish, you know, folks would get out and vote, right? But here's the question. If people are not willing to, because you can lead a horse to water, right? Well, if people are not willing to on their own go and vote, then why shouldn't this be the recourse?
Well, I would have to ask them, why are they taking the action? Why are they going through the trouble of unregistering the voters? And you know, I was thinking,
question.
like, you know, why would you want to unregister these voters? And the only reason I could think is to make to have cleaner numbers, maybe.
Yes, yeah, because they mentioned something like that in the article too.
Showing up are the people who count. You know, that's what matters. But you know, at the end of the day, are you trying to take away their right to vote because you want to have, I don't know, a cleaner number to divide? I mean, is it about the like having your electorate person? Because really, ultimately, what it comes down to is the more registered voters you have, the more power you have in their electoral college, and I think that's what really, I think that's the bane of the whole democratic system that we have, is that they are trying to do things with zoning. They're trying to, there's a name for it. I can't think of the name for it, but they'll try to rig your district. They'll try to cut certain lines within the municipality.
It's called
to make
red
sure.
Gerrymandering, what you looking for?
It's a couple of names for it. You know, it's dirty at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. That's the
why
only
they're doing
name
it,
that's apropos.
You know, then that's an issue. But if it's to get better data, if it's to find out a little bit more about why people vote the way that they do, if it's about, you know, making it a little bit more lean, a little bit less, you know, detrimental to the system to have to send out mail to 300,000 extra people, because that's really taxing on the system to have to do paperwork for people who, A, don't care to vote, or B, haven't shown up for an election or any of the other reasons.
Yeah.
I hope that you are voting. I decided to sit out one of the elections, but, I vote in my local elections, and you have the right to choose not to vote if none of the people who are in the race are of your, ideals or principles. But at the end of the day, now that the work is done, my question is, how easy is it going to be for people to know, hey, I was kicked out of my, registration. I'm no longer registered. And how easy is it going to be for them to get back into the system?
That's a good,
make it hard for them, or are you going to make it, easier?
No, and I'm figuring. I don't like to assume, but I'm figuring once they get them out, they're gonna make it thrice as hard for them to get back in. But it was Brother Richard that mentioned redlining. That's actually, believe it or not, that's not a term. I'm not familiar with that term, Brother Richard, so I appreciate you pointing that out. That's why we got you on the show, of course, for those things, to fill in the blanks. And then I think Gully mentioned gerrymandering. But, the interesting thing to me in that regard is, like I said from the beginning here, some people I talked to about this were saying, man, this is martial law. This is the beginnings of martial law, so to speak. And then you mentioned the numbers, and I'm glad you mentioned the numbers, because although this is sports is our primary topic of discussion here, again, every now and again we like to throw some things in that's relative or as it relates to everyday life. I think these things are important to discuss here, seeing how we do have a platform to speak. So I appreciate you all for adding your input, Gully. We'll get to you in a second. But we use numbers, or we talk about numbers when we talk sports, and it seems to be like that's the end-all, be-all for measurement in totality of a player or team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in this instance, if they, do away with this voter registration thing, as Mr. C pointed out here, you can make your numbers look better, but they won't be telling the actual story, if that makes any sense whatsoever, And to give you all a little bit better example, in layman's terms, so to speak, where I'm at, where I work at, they make a lot of changes on a day-to-day basis. Every night or every time I go in, it's just expect anything type of deal. But they make changes. But the people that make the changes, they don't make the changes based off actual evidence seen with their own eyes in regards to a change being necessarily need to be made, if that makes any sense. They look at a piece of paper and say, oh, like, for instance, we got this thing called rosters, and the paper, the numbers show that we have, I'm just picking a number, 150 people on the roster. So the people who can make the change and say, oh, y'all got these many people? Well, y'all don't need that many people. What are you all talking about? You all need extra people. You're short-staffed for, and the roster says this. Well, my thing is, if you're going solely off the numbers that are on the piece of paper, how crass is that? I'll tell you what. If the folks who are actually doing it on a day-to-day basis in the trenches are telling you no, and you're the person that can say whatever is a go, then you need to come down and show your face and actually do an actual head count, and you'll see you might have less than what even the people are telling you, if that makes any sense. So I'm glad you pointed out the numbers part of it, you know what I mean? And the fact, too, it sounds like, that there's some sort of agenda going on. You're talking about electoral college votes and so on and so forth. And you mentioned secondary elections. Those are the ones that really, really make the difference, if you ask me. Gully, go ahead, weigh in.
Okay, well, I'll attempt to be brief.
Did you hear that, Double J? Did you hear that, Double J? Did you hear what the man said? Did you hear what the man said? He said he was. I'm talking to Double J right now. The man said he'll attempt to be brief. Well, go ahead, Gully.
Yeah, I'll attempt, but we'll see. There's something to be said about wanting to validate your voter registration, right? I think our caller, our guest from Michigan, tried to give it some, if you will, some respect. Tried to put some respect on the process, because I think it's worth it. However,
he tried to look at it
like
objectively.
Usually, the quest for validation seems to come from one side, and that's where it becomes suspect. I don't know that usually when we talk about elections, especially when we talk about political elections, whether it be local, state, or national, usually the quest for validating the numbers validating the registration comes from one side. And that's a bother, I guess, to me. That makes me think twice about the merits of such a process. However, he is also right. If we're trying to, how many times are you going to keep calling for a number to get someone's attention and they're not answering? Right? Why would you waste time in the process, especially if you have a process that requires you to keep reaching out to them? That there is something to be said about the legwork or the meaningless legwork. I just think it's worth us, if we want to vote, to if we feel like voting is necessary, to make sure we have all of our checks and balances, and those who really care about voting are pressing upon each other to care about voting, so that way they can go and take steps themselves to validate their vote and make sure that their vote counts.
I hear
that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you. But let me say this too. I'm a voter. I'm an independent, and I'm proud of it, actually. I vote on the issues, or at least that's my thought based on information. I don't vote on because whoever got on nice shoes or whoever looked the best or whoever I think is more masterful at the flowery rhetoric than other candidates, because I told you all from day one how I feel about politicians. And a politician, excuse me for my French fries I'm about to use here, but a politician is a person that can tell you to go to hell in such a manner that you actually look forward to the trip. I'm cool on it. Got me? But at the end of the day, I'll say this. When I get the little thing in the mail or whatnot, and see, here's the killer part. There may be some people who are elderly or, I don't know, some people who maybe not as cognizant, for lack of a better word or term. But when you get that thing in the mail, it's, a lot of times it'll come with the rest of the mail, and there's a bunch of stuff. And if you're not paying attention, it's easy to cast that thing in the trash with all the rest of the stuff. Now, do we all agree on that or no? Maybe. You understand what I'm saying? That little, I don't know how you understand what I'm saying? So,
yeah, I definitely agree with you there, and that's why I really want to know, like, what is the process? Should you have been one of the person who threw it out with all of the other garbage that comes in the mail?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I'm just, I say at the end of the day, man, this cannot be a good thing. And more importantly, and all of this we've discussed about it, so far, what Colin said really, really stands out to me out of all of that. And that is, excuse me 1 second here, guys. I think I got somebody else calling here. Bear with me just for a second.
Well, while that's going on, something I wanted to point out here is if you look at the last presidential election, you had a lot of contrasting opinions on majority vote versus electoral college. And as you guys pointed out, the number of voters has a very big impact on that electoral college. And what you could be trying to see take place or shape is states adapting these rules to essentially wash out a certain number of voters. You could reform that electoral college and or allow it to be removed. Additionally, while ideally preventing a 4% viability or volatility for voter fraud. So there's some bigger things at play and at stake here. But nevertheless, again, I'm going to go right back to it that I can't, emphasize enough everybody using that, right and exercising that right.
Yeah, and as I was saying, I thought we had a caller where we didn't. Colin mentioned, how difficult would it be once those voters' registrations are nixed? How difficult would it be for them to get back in? And if that wasn't the plan from the beginning. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the number to call is area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267 687-0026. Colin, if you don't mind, I'd like for you to stay with us for a little bit longer. If that's okay with you, we're glad to have you. But this next one was, this next one was just threw me for a loop, right? The dead porta-potty body. All right. An unidentified person was found dead inside a porta-potty at Ravens M&T Bank Stadium this past Sunday. But that's not the killer part, all right? I'm reading this story here, and as I go into it, that it's not the first time it didn't happen. A second fatality involving a portable toilet at the stadium, of course, this year. According to the Baltimore Sun, a man died in February, as it really should be pronounced, after being engulfed in flames running from the toilet. Now, I didn't say how the fire started. The story didn't say, but if you, I don't know. I may go to the Baltimore Sun. You might find something more detailed than I did. But, Gully, we're going to start with you on this one. How uncanny is that? And what really caught my eye when I came across this story was, I don't remember what year it was, but it was when Municipal was still the stadium of the Browns were using. And it was a Pittsburgh game. And why this didn't make the papers, I have no idea. Well, maybe again I do. But of course that Browns Steelers thing runs deep. If you're not from Cleveland or Pittsburgh, you know what the TVs say and the stories and the newspapers say about it, they don't come close, okay? You got to have been here, lived here, or been from here or there to really understand this thing go all the way back to Turkey Jones and when he slammed Bradshaw on his neck and probably even before then. But there was a Steelers person that came up dead, all right, during this Browns-Steelers game, and a big fight had broke out. Man, it seemed like the fight broke out in one section of the stadium, and then it just seemed like fights. You know how they do I don't know if they do it anymore at these stadiums, but they used to do the wave. And once the one fight broke out in one area, it just seemed like you looked around and everybody was scrapping, Browns and Steelers. Man, it was a day of infamy that will live on in infamy, excuse me. But, I mean, Gully, what do you make of this? You think the Ravens got something to do with it? And don't you dare say Ray Lewis. Don't you dare.
I was going to say Mark Ingram.
Gully, that's a good one.
They at the bank, baby.
Yeah.
Big trust.
Yeah, Gully, so what did you say? You don't have nothing to say in regards to that, the dead porta-potty body? I guess not. All right. Brother Rich, what say you about it?
Well, I was going to ask you, have you ever been to Baltimore? Because if you've been to Baltimore, you understand that this is not rare. Baltimore it's like it's like if you go to Boston to a Celtics game back in certain days, you would expect certain behavior from the fans. If you go to Philadelphia, you expect certain behavior. If you went to a Raiders game when they were in LA, you were expected to expect certain behavior.
Okay, got you.
Well, Baltimore happens to be one of those kind of cities that you kind of expect behavior like this. Sadly.
Okay, and I understand now why Gully wasn't responding. We lost the call dropped for whatever reason. Look, technical difficulties happen in this business, especially when you're using software, right? But yeah, and what's interesting, I can't think of his name. They used to do it was a documentary. I think it was on AMC. It was called American Gangster. And they would profile true stories of former, drug dealers and so on and so forth. And there was a guy from Baltimore, and why do I want to say Rayful Edmonds was his name? Why do I want to say that? I think that's what his name was because it's been a while since that show.
Rayful Edmonds was from D.C., but he's one of them. He's one of them.
But he's one of them, yeah.
He's one of them. He's from D.C. Yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah, and the movie, the show, The Wire, wasn't that based off all the stuff that took place in Baltimore?
Absolute actual fact.
Yeah, so
yep,
so it was a TV show that came from all of this, the goings on down in Baltimore. But yeah, man, I found it interesting. Even though I've been to Baltimore, I've only been there once, but I wasn't there long enough to really know, the ongoings and so on and so forth. But Brother Rich, you're not the first person to say that, man. So Baltimore is lightweight off the hook. But you know what? When I see these case studies done about in certain cities when it comes to worst crime and so on and so forth. I rarely recall. I'm not saying they weren't, but I don't recall seeing Baltimore on the list. Like the top 5. I've seen Cleveland on the list on more than one occasion. Of course, Chicago and New York.
But Baltimore is a unique city. Very, very, very unique. Very unique. And right now they're going through a lot of issues with the police department. There's a lot of corruption issues in the city. So something like this doesn't surprise me at all.
Got you. Mr. C, what say you about this? About all of this, rather. The porta-potty bodies. You there, Mr. Collin? Oh, wow. Did I lose him, too? It don't look like it. I still see his number on the screen here. Well, Double J, what about you? What say you?
Oh, no, I'm still here. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it's one of those things, fool me once, fool me twice type things. I don't know what the thing is that it would go on a second time. I would hope that they would look into beefing up security or, heck, I don't know if it's the same area, but, security cameras or something. It seems like something that they're not like ducked off. It seems like they would have been in a public area. I don't know how something like this could go. I don't know, unseen, or it just seems weird that it would happen a second time within a year. It's just odd.
Yeah, not only odd, but I know this. If I was a person that had never been to Baltimore, if I seen something like this, I wouldn't want to go. Not to a Ravens game, but go Ravens. Double J, what say you?
Well, you're unfortunately, you haven't seen that list in a while. Baltimore as a city, unfortunately, here, I'm not hating by any means. Great seafood, but at the same time, they're outpacing a historic year, which was 2018. This year with the amount of homicides that they had, which is over 300 again, unfortunately. And so when you hear something like this, especially just given the nature of where it was, unfortunately, I'm not actually going to go the route of any crime here. I think, unfortunately, the national issue would actually come into play, and I think there was potentially an accidental overdose. Again, the individual wasn't identified until Sunday. If you recall, that game took place on Thursday.
Right.
So it took them a few days to even find the guy. Additionally, let's be realistic here. If I haven't heard from any of you on this panel in within a day or two, then chances are I'm checking in on you. So,
gotcha.
Again,
unless I'm in Dallas, huh?
Regardless of outcome.
Unless I'm in Dallas.
Well,
yeah, that was coming. Yeah, right.
Well, if you're at home, you're at home.
Uh-huh.
Right? When in Rome.
Yeah. Do as the Cowboys do. Watch it, Brother Rich. Save it. Save it.
Well, like he said, we don't bother you when you're at home. The man said it. We won't bother you. We know you're on break. You go there and you're chilling out.
Man. Oh, man. Yeah. Got you. I'm so glad I got
Jerry's world is like Vegas.
Yeah, not. I'm so glad I got my boots on because it's really getting thick up in here. But, yeah, man, at the end of the day, I'm just saying to myself, my gosh. And, you mentioned the overdose thing. That's the first I'd heard of this because the article didn't mention anything about that. But what's very, 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 very interesting? Have you all seen any of this or anything related to this on the national stage? Now, I don't watch First Take and all of that stuff anymore, but I peruse Sports Center and ESPN every now and again, you know what I'm saying, just to get a whiff of what happened 5 minutes ago. But even there, Scott Van Pelt, Russillo, and whoever it is at night, or none of the pardon interrupt. I didn't hear. Don't you think something like this should have been, definitely discussed on Get Up, Get Down, and Get all the way around?
Protect the shield. They got to protect the shield. They got to protect the shield. They got to protect the.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I feel like that's part of it, but also what do they know? Like, what can they tell us other than the fact that it's out there?
Yeah, well, that's true too, like we doing here. But at least say something. Yet they don't hesitate to say something about something that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You see what I'm trying to tell you? Oh, do you think he tied his left shoe and he should have tied his right shoe? And then they talk about that for an hour. Yeah, well, if he had been wearing the other kind of cleats, Then, whatever. That's what I'm just saying, man. If you're going to fill us in with some stuff, that is not necessarily hyperbole. Again, if I was my first time going to Baltimore, hey, and if I don't know nothing about Yahoo or don't look at Yahoo Sports, but I tune in the first take to tell me something so I know, hey, I might have to scratch that off my bucket list. Going to Baltimore, that is. The number to call if you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the area code is 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. This next one comes as a bit of a surprise and a shock to me, seeing that one of my boys was named in this whole situation. Clinton Portis, former NFL running back, but more importantly, a Cane, that's right, a Miami Hurricane, was named along with 9 other guys in a health benefits scam. Matter of fact, they were charged in an alleged health benefits scam. Let me say that. The group of former players, of course, along with Clinton Portis, they've been charged in the Eastern District of Kentucky for submitting false and fraudulent health care claims to be reimbursed for medical equipment that was never purchased. Interesting. But it goes on. The medical equipment described on the claims included hyperbaric oxygen chambers. Now, we all know who made those famous. Cryotherapy machines, ultrasound machines designed for use by a doctor's office to conduct women's health examinations, and electromagnetic therapy devices designed for use on horses. Now, here's the killer part, guys. More than $3.9 million in false and fraudulent claims were submitted, and more than $3.4 million was paid out between June 2017 and December 2018. Double J, as long as you keep the cane talk to a minimum, I'm going to let you have your say.
Now, here's the thing. There's an affiliation amongst these players. Unfortunately, this seems to be pretty organized, so these guys definitely are going to have to lawyer up and well. Simply put, this was taken as far as having some of the players listed impersonating or calling, and to my knowledge, again, I'll be kind of liberal with this. I'll just say they were calling on behalf of of another player listed to check the status of some of the claims. So again, this was organized. It's unfortunate because again, this type of stuff was put into the 2006 collective bargaining agreement, mainly for players that were older. At the time, you're thinking your 80s players, your Herms, and again, it only takes one bad one to kind of ruin it, unfortunately, at least from the public's perception. But these guys are going to have to kind of pay the price for this. And the unfortunate side is naturally, if you're doing these types of things, your financial status kind of comes into question. And as we know, unfortunately, one of 6 former NFL players, does go broke. So you have to wonder, especially somebody who had a contract just as massive as Clinton Portis did, why he would even want to be remotely affiliated with something like this.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think back a few years, my man Nate Newton, center for the Dallas Cowboys, nonetheless, got caught in a marijuana sting. You know what I mean? You got a couple of dollars now, son. You don't need to do all of that. But, Brother Rich, we're going to go to you next. But before you weigh in, Brother Rich, let me give you all a list of names that the defendants include, okay? Portis, of course, former Redskin and Broncos running back. I didn't mean to say that. Robert McCune, a former Washington linebacker. John Eubanks, a former Washington cornerback. Tamarick Vanover, I remember him, a former Chiefs wide receiver. Carlos Rogers, I remember him, a former Washington and 49er quarterback. I don't know who this other guy is. I don't call him Ceandris, Ceandris, Ceandris C.C. Brown, a former Texans safety. James Butler, a former Giants and Rams safety. Frederick Bennett, a former Texans defensive back. Correll Buckhalter, I remember him, a former Eagles running back. Ettrick, not Eric, Ettrick Pruitt, a former Falcons and Seahawks defensive back. But there are two other names here that the government also filed notice that it intends to file criminal information charges against former Saints player Joe Horn, and former Chargers wide receiver, I think he was a Patriot too, Donald Richey Caldwell, with, of course, the conspiracy to commit this healthcare fraud. But they in the Eastern District of Kentucky. Brother Rich, I mean, what's going on with your boys, man? Holla at your boy about what's going on with your boys.
Well, I think we should focus on what Double J alluded to. Why do these players need to do this? What are they doing? What are they doing this for? So let's look at their financial situation. And then Joe Horn, being the individual who is at the center of this controversy right now, was the individual who it's alleged, and I will use the word specifically alleged, was the quote-unquote ringleader, if you will. He has stated that he didn't know what was going on. His attorney has stated for him that he didn't know any of this. He signed on to support players, and unfortunately, this turns out to be some kind of fraudulent scheme. Nevertheless, this again is indicative of the big guy who steals all the money, points to the little guy and said, look, NFL don't have, and they exist as a criminal enterprise in and of themselves, and how they treat these players and what happens. And it encourages criminality. See, because if I know you're a thief and I know how you steal, then you are only encouraging me because if you leave most people in that circumstance, most people don't have the character that they would not steal if they had the opportunity, especially when it looks like you can steal so easily, where they make these things with sending oh man, that's how you do. Just send in a claim. Just say this. Just say that. And they allow it to go on and go on and go on. And then they come and press the charge and say, oh, see, look at him. He's a thief. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting?
We wonder now, how do you set this up and not set up the proper oversight? Who is the person overseeing?
Right, yeah.
What kind of oversight do you have?
Yeah, yeah. And on the flip side, you know, I just find it interesting. Like, this is like the pot calling the kettle black, so to speak, as you kind of alluded to, bro, Rich. The healthcare industry in this country is a racket anyway. When you have...
That's my point.
Right. People who need or are in need of your pharmaceuticals, children even, and you're overcharging by thousands. A shot of something or another is $125,000, and they need this. And then you see examples in other countries, Canada and the UK and other places or whatever. You know, they got health care, but they don't have these issues. We're talking about capitalism. There ain't nothing wrong with it until you get greedy. It's greedy. It's overcompensatory with the prices they charge. And so, I mean, which side of the racket that it's like, well, pick your poison. Oh, because we on this side of it, you know, we wear a white coat. We know we are absolved of any wrongdoing. And I'm not saying that what Clinton and all them did allegedly is right, you know, or whatnot. No, you know. But if this whole idea of fraud or whatnot was unbeknownst to these guys, so to speak, like just sign here, sign there, then is it really fraud? Colin, weigh in.
That's the key right there. It depends on how much you knew before, you know, it all went down. I can't really say whether or not they were in the know, because I know that, you know, once you get a certain level of celebrity and once you start to be in certain circles, especially if you're not used to it, and we all know that athletes historically don't always come from the most affluent backgrounds. You know, once you start hanging with the people who clearly have more than you do, you might think that these people might know more than you do, and that might not be the case.
That's interesting.
And it can be very easy to get roped into something that you really don't know. You know, they got the Fire Festival. You know, things like this happen to celebrities more often than people would like to believe. They get followed up for endorsements and all things, and before you know it, you can clearly easily get caught into a scam. So I do agree with Double J, though. They need to go on ahead and lawyer up, because whether you knew that you were doing wrong or not, you probably shouldn't be out here without a lawyer once they're talking about millions being frauded and whatnot.
Yeah, good stuff. Double J, what say you? We're coming back to you one more again on this one.
Well, again, absolutely here, and that's just it. So, when you look at this, regardless of who gave the instruction on how to do this, I think where the league is falling short when they implement these types of things is there's no oversight. They're going to put a policy just to get, to make sure that, again, they protect the shield. But then nobody's controlling these guys, decision-making or finances. They need to change how they pay players. If you recall, they put some away for them, but not enough. There's only about one agent out there that really stresses financial security and long-term. Everyone else is, live today, forget tomorrow.
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because, again, these guys are not, when in their playing days, they wouldn't have time for this mess. And the fact that they have to go to these great lengths to try to take advantage of a system that consistently takes advantage of us. I mean, if you look at most insurance plans, you have to pay $9,000 out of pocket before they decide that they want to cover anything. So, who's really the crooks here? But again, you got to play within the rules, and they have to start, using their voices here and getting more involved with the current regime. That's the only way this stuff is going to change. I can't stress it enough. And, hopefully, we all have kind of a interesting view on the man calling the shots for the NFLPA. And unfortunately, I don't know how much this is going to change. Unfortunately, we may see more stories of this nature in the future until something does.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the shield is cracking. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, the number to call is area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Gentlemen, we are moving right along. I like the flow of the show today. Up next, is anybody here familiar with the NBA's Knicks? I keep saying Knicks. The way I wrote this down, it looked like it's Knicks. That's my fault, right? The NBA's Kings, Sacramento Kings, and the Milwaukee Bucks, and this joint venture they're doing for this, they're calling it Play for Justice. Anybody familiar with that? No? All right, good.
No, I've never heard of that before. I'm
become familiar with it.
Oh, okay, I appreciate it. Oh, Brother Richard giving me credit for something? Man, you got a fever? You need some orange juice?
Absolutely.
You absolutely got a fever. Oh, okay, got you. All right, got you. Well, anyway, Represent Justice, or this Represent Justice campaign, tipped off a series of basketball games at correctional facilities between incarcerated individuals and NBA players and coaches. Now, sidebar, just a couple of shows ago, maybe about a month or two ago, we discussed what Kevin Durant, his documentary called Cue Ball, where he went to San Quentin.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess, but it was Warriors coaches, like the coaching staff, some of the lesser guys on the coaching staff played a basketball game against San Quentin's, top-tier hoopers or whatnot. But in this case, it looks like some of the former Kings, or not former Kings, some of the Kings players and some of the Bucks players have participated in these basketball games at Folsom, Folsom State Prison, in partnership with in partnership with the Represent Justice campaign. And did I mention that some of these the Represent Justice members were formerly incarcerated themselves? No? Okay, there it is. But they put together this game where, I thought it interesting that actual NBA players were going to play against these guys because, not too long ago, well, maybe 25, 30 some odd years ago, I myself experienced something of this nature. when I played on the institution team at the institution. I won't name the institution here now because I've done it a million times before. But we played at the time, there was a team that would play. I don't know if colleges still do this actually. Before the actual NCAA, men's basketball season starts, they have somewhat like the NBA. They do somewhat of a few game exhibition season, so to speak. They have a traveling team that goes to play the guys. They help the college teams get ready for the season and whatnot. Well, one of the traveling teams in Columbus that would play the Ohio State Buckeyes at the time with Jamie Skelton and all them guys that were on it. Mark Baker, I think Mark Baker was on that team. That's when I did like the Buckeyes hoop squad back then with Jay Burson. Y'all don't know nothing about Jay Burson, baby. This traveling team would play Ohio State, but that same traveling team would come to where I was at, and they would play us. And the games were intense, man. I'm talking about the last one I played in, the score was like, we beat them by 2. It was 135 to 133. It was insane. And I was like 6 man off the bench, okay? The guys who started in front of me, these guys, mark my words, I would lie for you before I would to you. Them dudes could have played in the NBA. Them dudes was nice. And a few of them had good hoop backgrounds, you know what I'm saying? Like the matter of fact, all 5 guys played it. They were like tops in their high schools, wherever they were from at the time. I didn't know a few of the guys, but 3 of the guys I knew played for schools right here in Ohio. Toledo Macomber, Dayton Dunbar, and it was Toledo Scott, I believe. And if you know the USA Today, they're real good at profiling top high school hoop football programs throughout the country. And back then, in late 80s, early 90s, those 3 schools I named from Ohio stayed in the top 5 back then. That's how good they were in basketball. So this whole players for prison things, Brother Rich, let me ask you, is this a marketing ploy?
No, I think remember, the players a lot of the players are getting active nowadays, and through a lot of their own developed nonprofits, they're developing programs, they're putting programs in institutions, and they're instituting programs and giving support to already existing programs that they believe are being successful. So this sounds like, I did look up some of it when you instructed us to do it, research it for the show today, and I was very impressed with what I saw. So no, I don't see it as a marketing ploy, specifically because none of us knew about it. And I think that's when they're the good ones. Nobody knows about it.
Okay, good.
It just kind of happened on them.
Got you. Because it does say here, the campaign organized the Play for Justice initiative to advance the goals of uplifting narratives of hope and redemption, to break down stigmas, and believe me, stigmas is the operative word here, associated with the individuals, disproportionately people of color and the poor, who are impacted by the criminal justice system. So you, Brother Rich, say this is a good thing. Double J, do you see this as a good thing?
Unfortunately, I don't. And the reason why is I think it's going to kind of continue to create that divide. The pros of this is absolutely reinforcing to those that are in that system that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and they can come out of it and of course, remind them that it really isn't a life sentence either, to my understanding, in the areas that they're visiting. However, are we encouraging this? Are we supporting that? Hey, here's the rewards for the system that you find yourself in, and that's where my fear comes in, is that we're sending the wrong message. And what I would hate to see is this to get taken out of context, even, dare I say, the way that my interpretation of it is, that I couldn't possibly be alone in thinking that, hey, we're rewarding those that shouldn't be getting rewarded, and at the cost of, dare I say, and there's always money involved here, and this is why it bothers me. We know, as Jay-Z and many others have advocated, that prisons are private. And at that point, that leads that at that point they're there to make money.
Okay,
and
I see
so,
where
hey,
you're going
guess
with
what?
that.
While you're here, you can have a computer. You're going to be able to watch, have not only be able to watch NBA, but you're going to be able to participate.
Okay, I see where
And
you're
so
going.
we're sending the wrong message at that point. And that
I
becomes
want to respond to Double J when you finish.
Okay. Yeah. Were you done, Double J?
But that's the concern that I have. But go ahead, brother. I'm
Yeah.
intrigued.
Hold on, Brother Rich.
Those are very legitimate concerns. Yeah.
Before you say anything, Brother Rich, let me say this. Having experienced it, it does wonders to your psyche. Because your psyche is going through, you're battling with your psyche every day in a place like that. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I don't celebrate it by no means. And I'll talk to anybody about it. You all know that. But your psyche is such that you have to deal with the fact that you're the reason why you're in this concrete jungle. And believe me, it is a jungle. Then you have to deal with the fact that you don't never know if you're ever going to get out of this concrete jungle. And there's a line in the movie Shawshank Redemption that Morgan Freeman states after they found out in the crew him and that they hung with or whatever, when Brooks Hatlin had hung himself after he got out after 57 years or something crazy like that. And he talked about what the walls do to you after being in there for a while. And let me tell you, what your mind goes through in a place like that is far greater than any horror story that you can imagine. So when something like that happens, what's going on here, it alleviates. If you get a day reprieve from your own thoughts, it's like a year. When these guys came in, it gave us something different to talk about. It gave us something different to look forward to. It gave you, if your light and your flame had somewhat started to die out, it relit that. And it, in some cases, it carried guys through to the rest of their term, believe it or not. So I understand the significance of this, but I also hear where you're coming from too, Double J. Brother Rich, go ahead and have your say, because there's another portion, a piece of this article I want to read. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I think that you said it, Jay. That's exactly the point I was going to make. Is that while I totally see Double J's point of view, you're looking and understand that there's something sinister afoot, and that is true. Unfortunately, because we can't trust the system. That's true. Nevertheless, what I was coming from is the vantage point that Jay just gave us, and that is, it is any ray of hope for the hopeless is always, you have to find the positive in it.
Got to.
And so I look at that and say, okay, some young brother who is locked up in prison, or some young guy who's locked up in prison, who maybe has an end date. Maybe he's getting out, even if it's 8 years or 5 years. Somebody sees him and says, man, you can really play. And so perhaps he's young enough to maybe go play a year in college or get a shot in one of these leagues that's developing or something. So for that, and for that alone. But the other element of it is what Jay was talking about. When you got people from the outside, a player of this caliber, the Bucks and the Kevin Durant and this one, they're in the institution playing with me, and I only see them on TV. And for the guys who don't have no home day, they ain't never coming home. Never. They got an L.
Right.
And that means they leave in a box. So for that guy who watches all he has in his whole life right now, he has no more family, no more this.
Yeah.
He watches Kevin Durant on TV. And now Kevin Durant, he can watch him play right there with him. Yeah. And then Kevin Durant gives him a word. And then when they come in, they give a word that quiets the institution for several months, because people are more at peace. They feel they feel some hope. So anytime you got hope for the hopeless, I always try to find a little bit of good in that.
Yeah.
I definitely understand and agree with you though, but that's the point I'm
telling you, man, them dudes, when they came in, man, it was one of them things where you have to, on your day to day, you got to be dare I say, a good little inmate. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Where when them guys started coming in, it was like, okay, man, I'm gonna make sure I'm tighten up. So when it's time to be select for the institution team, I'm gonna make sure I got all my ducks lined up. It's something you looked forward to. Because everybody didn't get selected. You get what I'm saying? But everybody got a chance to participate because the guys that didn't get selected, we had bleachers and stands and fans. It was a big deal. And believe me when I tell you, man, that is a place, and I'm not, look, by no means, I'm not excusing what didn't happen and why folks is in there. You know what I'm saying? Because you made a choice. But I just cannot say enough. At least a third, if not more, of guys that are in places like that, at least where I knew, them guys got caught up, man. They was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I say it all the time. You don't have to have a knife or a gun to end up in there with people who did. You just made a mistake.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying? And here it is, this mistake, you're going to pay dearly for it. And you have to live with that every day. You got to live with that. And believe me, I would rather shave hair off the backside of an angry lion than to spend a minute in that place again. Do you understand? Drop me off in the Serengeti if you got to. You hear what I'm trying to tell you? And put me in the middle of a pack of lions. And I'd rather deal with that. See what I'm saying? After them guys came through there, man, and we played, it was like Brother Richard is saying, for some guys, man, that is their moment. And once they get that moment, it stays with you psychologically, and it will uplift you in ways, in shape, forms, and fashions which I cannot express here on this program today. I'm just saying it work. I'm telling you, man, it can take a guy who always in fights and always in trouble and always, man, something like that happened to him, and they be like, man, this guy did a complete 360 type of deal. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. This first game, of course, took place between the Kings and the Folsom Prison guys. But there's an additional game that will take place with the Bucks in December, and added to that, with more activations from the not only the NBA but WNBA teams are to be announced this year and the beginning of 2020. In addition to the Play for Justice events in Sacramento and Milwaukee, the campaign has worked with the NBA and WNBA teams and players to organize events including film screenings and community conversations as part of the broader effort. Now, Colin, before you weigh in, I just want to read this part as well. The games are part of the campaign's efforts to engage audiences and spark collective action to demand a fair legal system. That's it for me. To demand a fair legal system. We'll get back to that in a second. Dignity for system-impacted communities, and an end to extreme sentencing. That's the second part of this. On December 6th, the campaign organized a concert with Common. We all know Common, the rapper Common, for incarcerated individuals at the California Rehabilitation Center in Norco, California. In November, the campaign, working with world-renowned French artist JR, not the guy who got the rebound and didn't know how much time was left, captured and pasted portraits of 48 formerly and currently incarcerated individuals at the California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, if I'm even saying that right, California, to create a large-scale mural in the facility's yard. So, Colin, I'll let you go ahead and give your thoughts on this before I go back to, afterwards, the two portions of that piece I just read that I think stand out. Go ahead, man.
Oh, yeah, I think that first things first, I think we have to make sure that we remember the reason for these institutions, and it is rehabilitation. It is so that people don't forget that they had a life before and they can have a life after. Although they may be approaching life with a felony afterwards, they can still kind of rekindle that love that they had for sports. Hopefully they can find a way to give back to the community by coaching. Maybe they can find another way to give back to the community, and they can kind of, like you said, have something to keep their mind occupied through that time that they're in there. But with anything, there's a sinister side of it just by design. It is a private prison, so we know that they will exploit their prisoners. They will do it for cheap labor. They do it. There's no question that if there is a dollar to be had, they will consider it. So I think that a lot has to be considered when you're talking about who's getting paid, who's really benefiting from this. I hope that it's really only about the people that are incarcerated, and hoping that that's going to help them.
Yeah.
Hopefully that there's no side gambling going on, between guards and things like that. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So it's something that you want to kind of take into consideration. But if it's really about rehabilitation, I think it's one of the better things that they can do. I think it's more involved than a lot of other programs that they might be spending money on. But I think that this is something that can help rehabilitate people.
I just want to say, and this is not to you personally, but a few times, man, I've heard people, I've had discussions in the past, in regards to this subject, incarceration and things of that nature. And I've heard people use the word rehabilitation or the term. Let me tell you all right here and right now, rehabilitation, that's just a pretty word. It just sounds good. It is anything but that. But you also know, if you ever been to one to visit somebody or so on and so forth, there's always a sign out front that says, welcome to such and such state or federal prison or whatever the case may be. There's something of the Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, right? It's more so about correction than it is rehabilitation. Believe me when I tell you that. The idea of, and the philosophy, once you get on the other side of the barbed wire, the philosophy is all the same across the board. Look here, we didn't ask you to be here, you came here. So guess what? Now that you're here, here's what you're getting ready to do. It is to psychologically break you down to your lowest of the lowest of the lowest, and you can't get no lower than the lowest of the compound. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? It is to
I agree 100%.
It is to destroy your
you
mind, because then you get a lot of guys who do get out. They are very hardened. Do you understand? And they call it institutionalized, because believe me, they're not trying to make you better. And you know why they're not trying to really make you better or rehabilitate you, quote unquote, is because it's a lot of, we talked about private prisons and the dollars that's attached to them. And not all prisons are private.
Well, you go in there and you become a better criminal in some cases. That's another story for another day, to tell you the truth. But yeah, you're hitting the nail on that one too. But at the end of the day, man, it's about, that place is about what it do to your mind more than anything. I tell people all the time, a second is like a minute. A minute is like an hour. An hour is like a day. A day is like a week. And a week feels like a year. Now you take that, and for a guy that did 365 days times 5, or times 10, or times 15, and you wonder how a person is not a vegetable mentally when they do get out of there, if they get out of there. You get what I'm trying to tell you? But the other two pieces of that last portion that I read, they say they brought this thing together, and one of the aspects is to spark collective action to demand a fair legal system. And here's why I say that's key. And Brother Rich, you know already where I'm going with this. We all here today can attest to the disproportionate sentencing laws in this country. And the folks who would sentence, need I say anything more than the Central Park 5? In particular, one young man who wasn't even nowhere near, none of them guys did it, but were nowhere near the scene, went to support his boy, and he ended up getting it the worst. Or do I mention the Khalif Browder story? I digress. The other portion that I wanted to point out here, to put an end to extreme sentencing. Now, extreme sentencing in this case for me means all of the wrongfully accused. You get a guy, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it's people of color. Guy does 25 years. 25 years.
of his life is gone. And it's all because of a lie. And then the people who sentenced him did some underhanded removing or not or omitting evidence that the guy's attorney didn't get to see or shouldn't see. It's all by design in a lot of cases. Now, if you don't want to be in don't put yourself in a predicament. Okay? It's two sides of every coin here. However, again, we done seen too many cases where guy fit the description and now his life is over. That's a big problem for me, man. Let me tell you how many dudes, I can't even count with a calculator how many cats I know personally who did not do it. But they was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the wrong place at the wrong time simply means they was walking to the store. See what I'm saying? So if these games can bring about some sort of change in these two aspects, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And then the sad part is, once it's found out that these guys were wrongfully accused, the systems that sent them or the jurisdictions that sent them up, they don't even give so much as an apology. Like, oh well, your life means nothing. And in this instance, it goes beyond black and white, baby. I seen dudes of all creeds and colors up in this place, man. And I'm telling you, I used to sit down and write down the stories. I used to keep a little journal, so to speak. Like, man, he's like, man, yeah. And then when a guy's lying, because at some point his story gonna fall through. Gonna be like, what's the cake or whatever it is, the pastry or whatever this thing is, the souffle. You know, you got to be careful with a souffle, right? Because if you're not careful, if the last thing you want is your souffle to fall, ain't that right? Okay, we all know what a souffle is here. Okay, yeah, got you. Yeah, man. Yeah, not even so much as a thank you. Hey, I've never been to war, never been in the service, but I got family members who have and did. And when we talk about our stories, excuse my French fries again, but damn, they sound similar. Oh, and that PTSD, it's real. It's real. Especially when you know you didn't do it. When you know you didn't do it, but the guy who sentenced you or sent you up, he's sipping on McDonald's. Yeah. It's that serious. The number to call, if you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us the shout, area code 267-687-0026. That number again is area code 267-687-0026. Good stuff so far, fellas. And we move along to the last portion of the show today, and that is the NFL Week 15 notable team performances. Now, I know my co-host, Double J and Brother Rich, want me to talk about the Browns. I won't. I'll let them do it. Double J, would you like to start and explain to us what's going on with your beloved Cleveland Browns? I didn't have them down for today, but I'll let you have your say.
How convenient. Look, I watched that game, and
did you?
Unfortunately,
did you watch it from the beginning to the end?
Flat. Yeah, I did.
Did you? Man,
I did.
You must eat nails for breakfast.
I was frustrated because I felt like the adjustments that was made in the second half, at least early, appeared to work, but
can't explain it, huh?
It's been the same thing.
Yeah, can't explain it. Yeah, I feel you, Double J.
No, I mean it's just that how you frame it. What's already understood.
It's already understood. Need not be explained, expressed, or said. I got you. Yeah, hey, look, man. I know you all don't believe me, you and Brother Rich, but that's fine. You know what I'm saying? People been calling me a liar for years, but thank goodness I'm still here. I've been rolling with this team ever since I was 5, man. 5. You know what I'm saying? You and Brother Rich, I appreciate y'all. Y'all get an A for efforton. You know what I'm saying? Efforton. I appreciate your effort. But y'all got a long way to go, man. You know what I'm trying to tell you? Hey, this is a slogan around these parts. Wait till next. Maybe it's always next year, or wait till next year. I forget. It's been when you said it so many times. It does just come and go. Brother Rich, would you like to maybe explain the dead mule or kicking the donkey or whatever that expression you got?
No, I don't think any explanation is needed. I think
okay.
Like Double J. No, I think like Double J has absolutely articulated, the wheels have come off of the team and the defense, and I mean that was apparent with suspensions. It's apparent when you hear that OBJ wants out of Cleveland and all these other. So we don't need to watch the wheels come off. We know what's happening. Nevertheless, here's the issue, and I maintain that more than ever. I'm saying it for the record. It's being said on this program with the Shop Report. We'll be able to play the tape back. I maintain that the team is vastly improved. The organization is vastly improved because the problems are being recognized earlier. And I maintain my faith in the Browns and the dog pound because unlike the Cowboys, who have put countless billions of dollars into their franchise and their players over the last 20-something years and have won nothing, have nothing to show for it, this team is on its asset. It is a rising team, and so I have no doubt about the fact that next year will be better. Once it's been apparent to many people, certainly from a casual observer's point of view, it's apparent that the coach is above his pay grade. He's out of his element, and he needs perhaps maybe even another year somewhere else. But a better coach, to generate a better climate is apparent. There was some serious. I'm not ready to blame management. I'm simply focusing on coaching at this point. I think a coaching change next year to a more professional, a more seasoned coach with those types of players and personalities, able to bind them together, able to instruct them and direct them. Hey, look, I'm in the movie business now, so I know they teach us about putting all of this thing together. All these parts got to work together, man. So it's just going to happen.
They teach you about.
So go dog pound.
They teach you about
still with the dog pound.
They teach you about trick photography too, don't they? And props. Cut.
Again, sir, we're still with the dog. By the way, sir, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, how about them? Yeah, they won the other day, I guess, from my understanding. I don't know what the score was because I didn't watch it. But I'll say this. You mentioned money and what the Cowboys are worth, billions and billions of dollars. Okay, look, Jerry's an oil magnate. Am I saying that right? Magnate, whatever. He got big dough. He got oil dough. That ain't his fault. I don't know whose fault it is, but it ain't his fault. And maybe it is. Who knows? But you talk about money in billions of dollars. Let me ask you this. Do I need to remind you, first of all, that Randy Lerner, when he passed, may he rest in peace, was trying to buy the Browns from Art Modell, right? And suddenly he passes, which I still find rather odd and kind of interesting, too, at the same time. But nonetheless, his son, Al Lerner, my bad. Randy takes over for the Browns. Had the Browns for 10 years. And he also owned a soccer team, Aston Villa, which you and Double J, I'm sure, are familiar with. The day he sold the Cleveland Browns to Jimmy Haslam, in so many words, he said he couldn't wait to get rid of them. He said the only reason he kept them dudes is because he made a promise to his father. Now, Al Lerner, his father, who had passed, was a staunch Browns fan. He really, really wanted the Browns. And, he ran the credit card thing here, MB&A, for a long time, big credit card company here. And they were staunch Browns fans. So, Randy grew up being the Browns. And for him to grow up as in a Browns household, and he couldn't wait to get rid of them, man, that's saying a lot, man. And then let me ask you this question, too. You're talking about billions of dollars. Explain to me, after the Browns go 3-13, Forbes put some sort of list out. The Browns were at the time worth over $1 billion, and that's how much Haslam paid for them. Huh? Man, the Browns and the Cowboys.
Is what, sir? What's your question?
That's not a question. My point is the Browns and the Cowboys are 1 and 1A. That's it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah. But hey, go Browns, right? Go Ravens. Listen, man, don't nobody want to see the Browns do well other than me, believe it or not. I know you all don't believe it, but believe it or not, me. For the sake of my grandfather.
No, we don't believe it. We don't believe it. I hope the listeners are paying attention to this.
Yeah.
No, sir, we don't believe it because, like Double J said, it's very ironic that the 1 week you bring up the Browns is when everything is pretty much over. The season is pretty much.
Do I have to pull the tape? I brought the Browns up last week and the week before that.
I think
and the week before that. What you mean? I brought the Browns up. Listen, I want to see the Browns do well, man, for the sake of my grandfather and my 2 brothers. Man, my 2 brothers they got Cleveland Browns socks. They got Cleveland Browns shoes. They got Cleveland Browns cars. It's bad, man. They got Cleveland Browns. They might have to see a doctor about this Browns. It's Browns-itis is what it's called. You know what I'm saying? I bleed brown and orange. Okay. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go right ahead. But like any investment, it's no way in the world you're going to get me to go down to that stadium, especially in the cold, and they ain't won and then lost 3, had 3 winning seasons in 29 seasons, and get me to pay $22,000 for a bottle of water or a Coke product, talking about some Go Browns. Like any investment, Double J, you the money guy here, stock market man. Let you invest in the stock, and you checking your stock, and you see that stock ain't doing what you want that stock to do, and the reason why you invested in it. You still keeping your money in it? Okay, that's what I thought, Mr.
Well, again, you're
huh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got you. What's already understood need not be explained. Couldn't get it out there, Brother Rich. Hold it. I'm coming back to you, Brother Rich. Colin, man, what's up with that in the Browns, man? You give us your take. Let's see if it match up with my 2 co-hosts.
For me, I feel like you're absolutely right with the 1 and 1A.
So hold it. Would you please, for our listening audience and the 2 co-hosts, would you please repeat that first portion again, please?
Well, yeah, I agree with you with the 1 and 1A.
Oh, okay.
For me, to be honest, I'm not really a huge football guy. I like to tune in because you guys get me up to speed on certain things.
Okay, appreciate
there's only
that.
so many hours in a day.
Gotcha.
But to be honest, from the outside looking in as a casual football fan, these 2 teams garner a lot of media attention, and neither one of them has delivered anything for either one of their bases.
Thank you.
In a very long time. And as a Detroit fan, I'd say that we could go neck and neck for worst team in the NFL, but we don't get half
the media attention. Thank you. Right. So in other words,
but for good reason, we don't have the star power. You got Odell, you got Ezekiel, and you have any other scandal that might come,
Right.
But
notice we don't hear any thank yous from the host on that point, though. We don't hear any thank yous, rappers, thank yous.
Thank you.
Because that's exactly the point. The Browns didn't set these expectations for themselves.
The
fact is that this was set by the national media and the pundits.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. But I tell you what.
That's who said it. Not the Browns.
Okay,
they don't run ESPN.
The Browns ain't had to. Listen, when the house was being built, the Browns and the Cowboys was buying furniture. Thank you. All I'm saying is, for my man Colin, I appreciate you putting that in the fashion and the manner in which you did. Thank you so much, because there's your thank you for you right there. But it's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me how one fan base whose team is terrible can point to the other fan base, allegedly, and their team is terrible. Not one time on this show did I say I was a Cowboys fan. But no, Brother Richard and Double J rented a mule and beat the mule all the way to the Bronx in the Yankee Stadium. You know what, man? The Queensbridge. I'm like MC Shannon, KRS-One. Man, the bridge is over.
You're enjoying that. You're enjoying this, Sanjay.
Yes.
Enjoying
and listen, because I don't get many moments, between you and Double J when my man Colin ain't on the line.
Double J, if you let this man, Double J, I promise you, this man will not be at no parade. I promise you that. I know this is your boy now, and I know y'all live close to each other, but when I come to the Midwest, he not gonna be at the game with us.
What you mean?
He's not coming.
What you mean? I don't want to go to the Browns parade. No, I told you I'm gonna be at home. I'm gonna have the best seat in the house, at the house, or with my bunny slippers on. Thank you very much. And no, I don't want no guacamole dip. You can hold that. Sip. You see what I'm trying to tell you? But I will be going to the Pistons game. Brother Rich, I can't even go to the Pistons game? Man, you dead wrong for that. What?
No, I don't. No, we only talking about the Browns.
Oh, okay. Well, then
Only
you ain't.
talking about
Oh,
the
that
Browns.
ain't.
We're talking
That
about the
okay.
beloved Browns. That's all we're talking about.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that because y'all ain't gonna be going either. Up next, although Washington would end up losing the game 37-27 to the Eagles, and they had a lead in the game. Actually, I'll tell you one thing that I noticed, and I didn't watch that game. Kind of had it going back and forth. No one can say nor deny it was no fault of Haskins why Washington lost that game, who, by the way, has quietly gotten better. Double J, think Dwayne Haskins might be the answer at QB for Washington? Or is it too early to tell?
Well, he definitely he needs some help. And, again, that's the unfortunate part.
Well, so do you and Brother Rich, but ain't nobody
system
saying nothing. Y'all need help, too. Messing around kicking the mules. Y'all dead wrong. Let me call Peter. Let me get Peter on the line. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying. Call Peter right quick.
Yeah, but don't worry, Brother Rich. You know, you're going to see him. You know how there's always someone who climbs up
Indeed.
on, like, one of the telephone poles or, you know, street lights. That's going to be our host at a future parade.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, not gonna. Oh, facts. It's, you know what I'm saying? Double J, finish your statement so we can move on. My gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Dwayne Haskins just helps. That team is, it's literally in pieces, and he's trying to put it together. And I just feel like he's making the best of a bad situation, but he has looked good enough to say that there is a positive light at the end of the tunnel for Washington, and clearly the best division in football isn't the best division in football.
Nice, that was a nice little jab. Bing, bing. Little Mike Tyson move right there, but I slipped it, baby, like Floyd Mayweather. Brother Rich, you got something you want to say? Is Dwayne Haskins looking a little bit better?
I absolutely agree with him. He just needs some help. And then remember, it is the Washington Redskins.
Oh, wow. You said that like the Cleveland Browns. Colin, go ahead. You weigh in.
Oh man, I don't think I'm at an authority to speak on this. I really don't have anything to contribute to this one.
Oh, okay, that's cool. You contributed enough to tell you the truth, man. You know that line about 1 and 1A, you know, and then I agree with you. That was the coldest line of the program today. I'm trying to tell you, and I'm so glad we got it recorded because I will make sure when I get this new piece of equipment, that line is going into this. I'm quiet. I'm making a movie. You know what I'm saying? Quiet. I'm making a movie on the set. How about them Texans in that Titans game? See, we get this late in the season because, you know, the season is starting to wind down. Of course, we already, like I said, in the week 15. But that Texans and Titans, you know, Texans pulled it out 24-21 over the Titans. That was a straight-up barn burner. And, of course, giving sole control to the AFC South to Watson and company. Brother Rich, you think Watson and company can win that AFC South and get into the playoffs? What you say? That was impressive, that win over the Titans. That was a good game, man.
I absolutely agree with you.
What?
I absolutely agree with you.
You agreeing with me again?
Here, you're right. When you're right, we have to tip our cap to you. So you're right.
Oh my gosh! You only saying this because my man C over here today. If C wasn't on the line,
you're not right about the Browns.
Oh please,
you're not
stop
right about
it.
the Browns, and you're not right about the Cowboys, but you're right about something.
Double J was that? Okay, yeah, some things. They say 1 out of 100. Double J, what you say about that Texans Titans, man? Was it a good one?
No, a good game. I'm actually going to fault the head coach of Tennessee. I really felt like
Vrabel?
He mismanaged the. Oh yeah, absolutely. He basically didn't put enough emphasis on Derrick Henry. When your home crowd is chanting Henry, Henry, you feed the man the ball.
Oh, so he had a Freddie Kitchens moment.
He didn't do so.
He had
absolutely.
He had a Freddie Kitchens moment
in the end zone because he did a Pete Carroll, and they didn't give it to Marshawn Lynch. They should have ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They should have ran the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Vrabel outcoached himself, is what you're saying. Oh, okay. I guess.
Absolutely. I'm not going to give the gentleman on the other side for Houston, the former Penn State guy, the credit of masterminding that. Instead, I'm going to give Deshaun Watson and specifically DeAndre Hopkins the credit there. He turned it up in the second half. And, other than Michael Thomas, I can't think of really anybody in the league at the receiver position that is unguarded.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy finds space, and when you can see the difference. And that's the difficulty in kind of gauging this. It's like, is he not trying before? And we obviously are fully aware that's not the case. But my goodness, when he's locked in, like I said, other than Michael Thomas, I can't think of anybody else that is really on that level at top of their game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. What about you, C? Did you see that game, Texans-Titans? Nope, maybe not. All right, yeah, well, moving right along. I'll tell you about this. We say that the Texans-Titans, or I say that the Texans-Titans was a barn burner. That Bills-Steelers Sunday night, it had everything. Duck or no duck, man, you just don't waltz up in the Heinz Field with your own bottle of ketchup and just get to pouring. You get what I'm trying to say? Huh, Double J? Led by my man Josh Allen, the Bills did just that. Now, here's the question, though. Do we take them serious now? The Bills, that is. And do we take them more serious than we do the 49ers, Double J? And this let me point out right quick, my man Colin had to, looks like I lost him here. Yep, he had to go. Man, see, I appreciate you for calling in, man. You know what I mean? Make sure you call us back next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I got an announcement to make before we get out of here because I don't think we'll be doing the show next Tuesday, seeing how everybody's bah humbug. But go ahead, Double J. What were you going to say?
Well, it's not Josh Allen. It's the defense. You're talking about two very underrated defensive teams here. All you got to do, it was duck, duck, goof out there. Again, all you have to do is look at the defensive statistics of what they were able to do to the Duck with his 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
And that tells the story here. If you're going to give teams additional opportunities, because if you looked at Josh Allen's stats, they weren't really impressive. He threw for 139 yards. So simply put, that they won that game because of that defense. They're 10-4 because of that defense.
Oh, wait a minute. Stop it. You mean to tell me Josh Allen didn't – see, that's, again, he had 139 yards, and that's statistically poo-poo. But if you watch that game, that drive that they went down the field and scored, and they went up 17-10 with the extra point, of course, provided. That was you wasn't impressed. That didn't impress you at all, huh? You didn't still giving all the credit to the defense after seeing that? Because remember now,
let's face it here. If you don't have 4 interceptions, if you don't have 4 additional interceptions, so 4 extra possessions,
right,
that drive doesn't happen.
Well, we can't. Well, that's what if.
That score line is different.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. But, I mean, the defense did its part, no question. And that defense is very underrated. I'm in agreement with you on that all day, every day. But, I mean, my goodness, when we talk about it's a quarterback-driven league, that dude, Josh Allen, he made plays that some of the most heralded quarterbacks didn't or don't make. True or false?
Additionally, I do want to reiterate. He
boy.
did. He did. He did what he had to do when the game.
Oh my gosh!
So yes, I don't want to take that away from him.
Yeah, but you're giving him again. You're giving him credit begrudgingly. Begrudgingly, you're giving him credit. Go ahead. I'm listening.
But here's the thing. Mike Tomlin, third string quarterback. Team's 8-6. That if you're a Browns fan, that's what should drive you crazy. He doesn't have anything to really work with there. His starting running back has been out. I understand he came back, but just for yesterday's game. But again, even then, he only got 42 yards. your number one receiver is out. They have every excuse in the world
To be the Browns.
to have one win. No, even worse. Even worse.
Yeah,
To be the Bengals,
or the Bungles, as we like to call them around these parts.
and
But
they're not. So,
yeah, but you know what? Let
Yeah,
me say this.
absolutely.
Let me say this to you.
and
Oh,
I
that was
will say this:
Y'all
even
call them
Tom
the
Brady
Bungles in
couldn't
Dallas?
save those guys for filling the seat.
yeah,
Ooh.
brother Richard. I heard you, but I was ignoring you. I'm not. I'm not acknowledging. You want to make you want to make Cowboys references when they don't even fit. You know what I'm saying? It's just you just got it in for me, man. This is a witch hunt right now. That's what this seems like it is. That's what you just want to go. You know what I'm saying?
It was a valid question.
Oh no, you didn't hear what he said. I said they call them the Bungles around these parts. He was like, they call them the Bungles in Dallas now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He just wanted to say Cowboys. he just wanted to be the Cowboys, no matter what. I could be talking hockey. He'd be like, oh, they got it. Since when Jerry Jones on a hockey team, he just gonna mention Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, no matter what we're talking about here. I'm surprised he didn't mention the Cowboys at the beginning. Well, maybe because what we started off with was more of a serious note. But anyway, yeah, man.
You know,
But you're
Brother
talking
Rich, you know
about-
why he speeds us up in these on our responses is that he's got his legs kicked up in Jerry's office, and they're telling him, hey, we got the zip line ready for you.
Oh,
Right.
wow. You mean to tell me that, you know what, Double J? I mean, you saying that as if though you don't have your feet kicked up in the comfy confines of the shoe up here at Ohio State. Don't get it twisted now. You and Brother Rich on the payroll. Oh, I found out. See what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a lot of that Big Ten money that's going sliding up over there to Ohio State. That's why they got 2 guys on the Heisman ballot this year. Found out about that. Yeah, your contributions. Wait till I talk to Drew Brees and the rest of the Purdue alumni about this travesty. Yeah, don't be a traitor. I know, Trader Joe. Anywho, Josh Allen looked like he might be the answer for Buffalo because how many? Well, let me address this other point. Yeah. Oh, that's funny, Double J. That's funny to you. Let me address this other point. Would you mention Mike Tomlin?
That was
Yes.
me actually laughing.
I know, but both of y'all sound one and the same when y'all cocking. That's just the Steeler way. The Steelers have had the same amount of coaches in their history as the Browns have had winning seasons in 29 years. Imagine that. Okay, I'm just saying. So, yeah, Mike Tomlin don't have nothing to work with, but the Steelers, the way they work as an organization, been working for years. All right? Before we was even born. Well, might have been born, but you get the idea. We was little youngins, you know what I'm saying, still eating off the Gerber. See what I'm saying? Yeah, so I'm not surprised that Mike Tomlin or the Steelers and what they do and the way that they do it. But what I do want to know from Brother Rich, too, and you, too, again, Double J, do we take the Bills more serious than the 49ers? Because the 49ers, they just got a whoop, whoop, whoop. That wasn't good.
Are we talking about the same franchise?
Oh,
Now, here
boy.
you are.
Here we go.
You just, every week, we listen to you dissect, deconstruct, and destroy the Browns franchise.
I don't do that.
Nevertheless, you are ready to have us root, sir, with all due respect. Now, allow me to make my point.
Okay.
Nevertheless, you are ready to have this, put your program and this platform behind these enlisted Buffalo Bills who went to the Super Bowl, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and did what? Lost.
Yeah.
We can move on, sir. Thank you.
No, I'm with you. Nobody's calling them a dynasty. That's for sure. But we're talking about in this game, I'm not saying that I'm not putting the Bills on no pedestal. I'm not doing that. Please don't misconstrue. What I am saying to you is while the defense did what the defense does, and because it's underrated, I'm giving you all of that. Can Josh Allen get a little bit of love? Because even still, the Steelers are still the Steelers. Even though this may be a down year for them, quote unquote, or technically, you still don't. Listen.
Is this the first time we've seen a Buffalo Bills team that had Jim Kelly played in Buffalo, didn't he? Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
I grew up in the state of New York, so I
Yeah,
okay,
no.
thank you.
Okay, so let me reword it. Let me put it this way. In other words, this is the first time in a long time that I can think of that a Bills team went into Pittsburgh and won a game. In a game that was ugly but darn goodly, and that Pittsburgh usually wins. See? That's all I'm saying here. This is not a history moment.
Pittsburgh Steelers that are down to their Pittsburgh Steelers that had to borrow a high school quarterback, a high school wide receiver, a high school lineman, and their coaches keeping them together with thread and a needle.
Yeah.
That team you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the team. I'm
right.
talking about the environment. Double J, so you telling me that even with all of that Steeler environment is almost akin to the 12th man. Even though the Steelers were without 217% of their players and people and personnel or whatever you want to call it, that is still not a place that you're just going to waltz in and just get the pouring ketchup everywhere. That's what the Bills did. Go ahead, Double J. I know you was getting ready to say something.
Well, yeah, all you have to do is go back to a week ago when they completely dominated Arizona in their own building.
They who?
That was they even
the Browns,
their social media and no, the Steelers.
Oh, okay. And Arizona is what?
Yeah, when they were in Arizona.
Yeah, but what's the Cardinals?
That was like their home away from home, according to their.
Right.
Yeah, to your point about the 12th man, they absolutely travel very well, and again, look, it's credit to Mike Tomlin here. You and I, you may feel that your presence in Jerry's world is what wills that team to go on, but unfortunately here it comes down to coaching.
Okay. So if it's all coaching, here we go with this coaching thing again, then why make mention of who Tomlin didn't have if it's all coaching? But I get it because it's true. He didn't, and they still doing.
Because he has to have somebody to coach. He has to coach somebody. He has to have players to coach. He can't coach at a professional level. He can't coach high school players. And he had to, sub in a junior high player. And come on now.
Okay, Duck Dodgers in the 21st century. I get it. But I'm okay. Well, then let me throw it this way then. Okay, so Mike Tomlin's responsible for a quarterback throwing an ill-advised pass, or a defender not making a tackle, or I'm trying to figure out what role or culpability do the players have in all of this. And then if that's the case, if it's all coaching, then why even have the players out there? Just get a bunch of coaches and let the coaches go out there and play. Why do they have players if it's all coaching? I'm just curious. See, what we got here is a bias with Double J. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he just say something about a Penn State alumni or something like that? And we all know Double J graduated from Purdue. You see where I'm You see where I'm going with this? There will be no bias and no subjectivity on this program. Objective, non-selective. Go Josh Allen. I'm a fan of whatever team is winning next week. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna just start doing. Whoever winning, that's what.
Oh, what a surprise, huh? Boy, that was real news. Breaking news, huh, Brother Rick?
Yeah,
let's call CNN right away.
Yeah,
we found out something.
Yeah, y'all did. Y'all found out something. Yeah, that's right. I'm a wagon rider. I'm sick of bad football and paying for it to boot. Who does that? That's the definition of insanitary. Yeah, that's my little play on words. But anyway, last game.
If you think about it. Look at it this way, Brother.
Oh, now he's got now he's got a lot to say. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So the wagon rider. Now, who generally here? Who's typically riding wagons? Well, Cowboys are, and who circles them? The Buffalo Bills. Oh my goodness.
And you still did not answer the question, young man. Are the Bills to be taken more serious than the 49ers? I can't get a straight. Why I got to get a Pythagorean theorem answer from y'all? Why? E equals MC squared. I get it.
Absolutely, and here's why.
Wait a minute. Absolutely what? Absolutely the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl next year or what? I mean, that's too ambiguous. Absolutely what?
No, absolutely that Buffalo should be taken more serious than San Francisco. And
Thank you.
San Francisco throws the ball to George Kittle 75% of the time.
Hey,
You
if
are
it ain't broke,
not
don't.
win
If it
a
ain't
Super
broke,
Bowl
don't fix
throwing
it.
to your tight end that much.
Why not?
Well, you know what? Based on that score versus Atlanta, a 4-win team going into that game, Atlanta,
Oh, yeah.
and they did the Dirty Bird in that municipal stadium there in
they
the Bay
did.
Area.
They sure did. Imagine that. Atlanta, Dirty Birds went up in there and did some pitch and poop all up in Candlestick Park. My bad. Go ahead, Double J. Finish.
Well, again, that's been my biggest issue. They didn't throw the ball. They were in this very pistol offense for 3.5 quarters until things got real tight and Atlanta took the lead. Julio Jones showed everybody why he's Julio Jones. Maybe it was the warm weather. I don't know. But nevertheless, he came down with 2 incredible touchdowns, gave those guys a chance.
Yeah.
And defensively, my fellow Purdue alum in esports extraordinaire and competitor of mine, Ricardo Allen, had a field day defensively. So, by all means, they deserved every bit of the win that they received, and the 49ers deserved every bit of that loss.
Darn Skippy, they did. In our last game of our notable team performances, and it went over the Colts. You're going to love this, Double J, right? You didn't think I was going to bring this up. See, I still do you a solid, man, even though you and Brother Rich keep coming over to the house talking about mules and donkeys and all of that kind of stuff. The Saints, Drew Brees, set a new NFL record for highest completion percentage in yesterday's game against the Colts. I just mentioned going 29 of 30. Do you understand? That's 96.7%. 29 completions out of 30 attempts. I bet you Baker can't say that. And Brees did at the same time eclipsed the great, Brother Richard's favorite, Peyton Manning, his overall touchdown record, by throwing his 540th. My gosh. Or should I just say, 540th. First of all, I didn't even know Peyton Manning was that many. And I know Tom Brady is close because Tom Brady congratulated him. Tom Brady got what, 528 or something crazy like that? That's a lot of doggone touchdowns to be throwing. My goodness. And you know what's even more impressive about Drew Brees? Not that he went to Purdue, okay? Because I'm still a fan of Gene Katie over there. You know what I mean? I used to love seeing him roam that sidelines. You don't know nothing about that, though, Double J. You wasn't old enough yet. But
no, you'll still see Mean Gene, at some home games. So and he travels during March as well. So by all means, maybe we'll make a trip.
Oh, no question about it.
Tonight, this actually as well.
Oh, the basketball? Not interested. We got snow on the ground here. Not going nowhere. My bunny slippers are warm. But Drew Brees, while with the Chargers, who were the San Diego Chargers at the time, I don't know if you remember the play, but the game, I don't know the team who they were playing. But I think it was on a play. He was like trying to dive into the end zone or something or another on a quarterback scramble and separated his shoulder. If you all are listening out there and you go and look this up, if I'm not mistaken, Double J, weren't there conversations after that happened to him? Like that might be like his career might be over because it was his throwing shoulder. Did you hear anything like that? No? Maybe?
Well, you got to go back to that draft.
I know, the whole Phillip Rivers.
That whole Phillip Rivers,
Eli Manning, yeah.
It was because of the Drew Brees injury. And you
right.
had that 1 in 500 injury.
Right.
And so, you're talking about he was done. He was written off.
Yeah, because that injury was bad. It was real, real bad, to be honest with you.
Remember, 360-degree tear of his labrum.
Right. That's
50% tear of his rotator cuff.
Right.
He was done.
He was done. Yeah. So to see him where he's at right now, see, to me, that's when the numbers match up. You understand? See, knowing what happened to him and that by all accounts, by NFL standards, and for sure, he should have been done. His career should have been done. To see where he at right now, sitting right there above Brady, and now Peyton Manning, who the other two have suffered injuries, but to that extent and to that degree that Breeze did, and he still got a height disadvantage, as they like to say. He's 4 foot never. Yeah. Salute. I salute that guy all day, every day. And I hope he keep on breaking records. See what I'm saying? Those are the kind of records that you can acknowledge and we will acknowledge on this program. Not the kinds that, anyway, I digress. Yeah.
Here we go. Come with your
Let me
Brown
ask you
slander.
this.
I was getting ready to make, see, brother,
the program.
I was getting ready to make a basketball reference. I wasn't going to say nothing about the Browns, man. See what I'm saying? You just want to talk about the Browns. Brother Rich, we've been on this program almost
We
2
know you got some. We know you keep Brown slander at your, to close the program. You know you keep Brown slander at the rest.
Oh, I keep Brown slander? Wait till you see this Jim Brown jersey I don't got no more. I mean, I'm going to show y'all a picture of how Brownsed out I was. Yeah, couldn't afford gas money, but I was Brownsed out.
Jim Brown jersey.
I tell you what, I sold all of my Browns paraphernalia, and I keep gas money now, baby. Anyway, what were you going to say, smart Double J?
Well, I was just making a mention that I have a Mitchell and Ness throwback Jim Brown jersey.
You might know.
It's one of it's a cotton, it's a very fine material.
Oh, wow.
Stitched on,
wow.
Wow.
Well,
all the craftsmanship with those.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you might want to put that on some mothballs because it's going to be a while. Brother Rich, you got something you want to say too? You want to add to that too, Brother Rich? Or
since y'all, I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna raise y'all one. I actually know Jim Brown, met him and played golf with him.
Really? You just couldn't give Drew Brees you couldn't give Drew Brees a salute? I mean, I met Jim Brown too. You know what I'm saying? I kicked his cane out from up under him for some stuff he said. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm not about meeting him. I met him before too. I mean, it wasn't, that might mean something to some folks, but like, Jim, what's up? What's happening? Hey, yeah, Pat, throw me them car keys, dog. You know what I'm saying? Because to tell you the truth, the way some of these Browns fans are, I got to say, bartender, I'll have what he's having and make mine a double. So you're not going to say nothing about Drew Brees, huh, Brother Rich? Foul.
Well, I was going to say, since you mentioned Jim Brown, you should at least respect Jim Brown and respect the legend that he is, that he was.
That he was,
the Browns
right.
franchise. You do live in Cleveland, after all. That is where you live, right?
Yeah, that's where I live. But trust and believe, I got suitcases packed, baby. I'm writing on the white
Double
moment.
J, you know the irony of this? Double J, you know the irony of this?
One-way ticket to Dallas, huh?
It's really sad. It really is. The man, it lives in Cleveland. They introduced me to the whole idea of the Browns right there in the barbershop, the historic barbershop there in Cleveland Heights. And this man has never and continues to excoriate the Browns at every chance he gets.
Well, let me say this before we get out of here. Yes, I did make mention, turned you on to the Browns, whatnot. But didn't they tell you way back when, never take the advice of a man who's on medication? Right. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to Spreaker, of course, type in the search box, you type in the shop report. I don't know why I keep butchering that. Or you can check us out on our Facebook fan page, Twitter, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Give us a follow while you're over there, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, of course, you can always get us via email, the shopreport365@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about, or just to discuss in general. And if that don't work, you can Google it from a man's Be Rich and our callers, D. Gully and Colin, Double J, and all those who follow and support us. We say thank you. I'm Barbershop J, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla!
that derriere from the Fort Worth stockyards really getting to you.